Welcome back to Megadamage Mayhem, where power armor is shiny, politics are ugly, and today we're talking about one of the biggest, meanest, and most fascinating forces in all of Rifts, the Coalition States. In the core rulebook, the Coalition States are presented as the dominant human power in North America. They are organized, heavily armed, technologically advanced, and absolutely convinced they are humanity's best and maybe only hope for survival. They build fortress cities, they maintain giant militaries, they protect their people from monsters, demons, raiders, and the chaos of the wilderness. And if that sounds pretty good so far, well, that's part of what makes the Coalition interesting. Because the Coalition isn't just humanity's shield, it's also a surveillance heavy authoritarian regime built on fear, propaganda, censorship, and a whole lot of hatred. At the center of it all is Chi-Town, beating heart of the Coalition. It's the seat of power, the propaganda machine, and the place where Emperor Karl Prosek rules with a very firm hand. In the Ultimate Edition core book, the Coalition is shown through two very different lenses. On one hand, to its citizens, it represents order, security, and survival. On the other hand, writers like Aaron Tarn paint it as a cautionary tale, a civilization so afraid of the outside world that it's willing to crush freedom, truth, and compassion just to feel safe. And that's the core tension. The Coalition is not just evil for the sake of evil, it believes it is right. It believes its brutality is necessary. That makes it way more interesting, and way more dangerous. The Coalition hates and fears non-humans, magic users, and pretty much anything it can't neatly put into a box marked approved human behavior. To the Coalition mindset, DBs aren't misunderstood neighbors, they're invaders. Magic isn't mysterious or useful, it's corrupting, dangerous, and one step away from demons kicking in your front door. And the core book doesn't really soften that. This is a regime built on human supremacy. It doesn't just distrust the unknown, it weaponizes that distrust. Now, one of the smartest things in the book is that it also makes room for nuance. Not every Coalition soldier is a cackling monster. Some are true believers, some are patriots. Some honestly think they are protecting innocent people. Some are just trying to survive inside a brutal system. And that right there is what makes Coalition characters playable. One of my favorite parts of the Coalition section in the core book is that it flat out says Coalition characters can be played as good guys or bad guys. That's huge, because it means the Coalition is more than just a stock villain faction. You can play the loyal soldier who truly wants to protect humanity. You can play the hard-bitten patriot who starts realizing the machine is rotten. You can play a zealot, a butcher, a confused recruit, a defector, a man or woman trying to do one decent thing in an indecent system. The book even points out that some Coalition troops are basically heroic people trapped in a bad ideology, while others are absolutely the kind of people who should never have been handed authority, armor, and a laser rifle. So if you want to roleplay the Coalition well, don't just play generic fascist soldier, play a person inside the machine. Now we get to the fun part, the war machine. The Coalition is terrifying because it combines industrial scale production, strict military organization, and some of the best battlefield hardware in the setting. You've got the iconic Coalition grunts, better known as Dead Boys. Their skull-faced infantry in black armor designed to intimidate everyone around them. You've got a Samus pilot, who is flying power armor troops who come screaming in from above like jet-powered nightmares. You've got military specialists, technical officers, dog boys, Psy stalkers, giant robots, armored vehicles, and enough firepower to turn most small communities into smoking history lessons. And in the core book, the Coalition feels strong because it is strong. This isn't a paper tiger. This is a military state that can actually back up its threats. The Ultimate Edition also makes a big point about the Coalition's technology. They control and distribute some of the most advanced military gear on the continent. They aren't the only tech power in the world of Rifts, not even close, but inside the core rulebook, they are presented as one of the major benchmarks for organized, mass-produced military-grade hardware. And that matters because it reinforces the Coalition fantasy. This is not a ragged gang of wasteland survivors. This is a state, a modern war state, with logistics, with factories, with doctrine, with enough armor and lasers to make idealism very hazardous. Part of what makes the Coalition work so well in the core rulebook is that it's not just scary because it's strong. It's scary because it makes sense. If you lived in a world where demons, vampires, dragons, and dimensional horrors were real, you can understand why people would cling to safety, walls, uniforms, and simple answers. The Coalition takes that fear and builds an empire out of it. That's why it endures as one of the most memorable factions in Rifts. It's not just a villain army, it's a believable response to a nightmare world, twisted into something cruel, rigid, and deeply dangerous. Well, everyone, that's the Coalition States as presented in the Rift's Ultimate Edition core rulebook. Fortress cities, fear driven ideology, military power, and just enough complexity to keep them from being cartoon villains. In a later episode, we'll get into how other books expanded and evolved the Coalition, but for the core book, this is the foundation. And hey, remember to find time or make some time to play a game.